CardGamesTV1 Podcast. I am not a content creator, or content creator versus vlogger. Most people don't know the difference between a vlogger or a content creator. They think it's the same thing when it's not. So the thing about being a content creator is you're trying to create stuff to be entertaining, stuff to get attention and views, and all these extra things. So it's kind of like making a movie, right, or creating a TV show. It's for the purpose of trying to generate money, trying to generate some attention for something, like advertisements typically, for money. This is why most content creators want sponsorships. Why would they want sponsorships unless they're a content creator? This is why they're content creators, right? Because they're creating content. That's why it's called content creation, not just vlogging, or documentation of your life, or documentaries, or whatever other terms you want to use. It's content creation. That's why somebody will be like, oh my god, new cars were spoiled, let me make a video about it. That's content creating. Now, if you figure out certain spice, like, ooh, this card from this set, and this card from that set, and this card from that set, these are really good cards to put in this archetype or in this deck, or play with this leader, you get some like really cool combo, really cool interactions, then that'd be, that's different. That's, you're not creating content, right? That's not content as in like, oh, new stuff was spoiled, let me tell the world about new stuff was spoiled, right? It's you figure something out and you want to share that information, so that it's just knowledge, right? So just sharing information that other people can benefit from. So then you become more of a teacher, less of a entertainer. The thing about a content creator is that they mainly do things for entertainment purposes. So they try to be entertaining. That's why they'll make jokes. They'll add some music to their videos, for example. They'll try to do intro and outro. They'll try to do this like kind of like movie level or TV level, or quote unquote, like they like to say, high quality content, right? Where the audio quality, the video quality, they put a lot of effort into it. But we know, and I'm gonna throw some shade, the content itself is not, where they put a lot of the quality comes from, right? Mentioning that there's a ban list is not really quality content, but it is still content nonetheless, right? So, because I always like to respect the concept of the term content creator, the creator part more than the content part. The thing is, with most content creators, they focus on the content part. So the more videos they can make, for example, or the more posts, like on Instagram, or the more TikTok videos they can make, right? If they're a meme, they like to make memes and post memes on Twitter, for example, then the more the merrier, right? Because they're trying to get a lot of attention, they're trying to get a lot of followers. And then to them, followers matter. That's how you know who's a content creator, who's not, because most content creators care about how many people are following them. To them, that's a validation of their worth, right? That's how they measure their value, right? How they consider what they do valuable is how many people are subscribed to them, or following them, or whatever, right? Or retweeting, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not against that. I'm not saying that it's wrong. Hey, to each their own. I'm just pointing it out that that's essentially what most content creators are. They tend to try to be influencers. They tend to try to be like the voice of the of the community, right? They see themselves as promoters of whatever community they're part of. So whether they're into makeup or they're into card games or whatnot, then that's what they tend to put out there. So clearly I'm focusing mainly on card game content creators. There's obviously there's competitive content creators, then there's casual content creators, but then there's the other types that most people don't talk about separately because they just want to clump it up with being a content creator. Is people like myself, which are essentially just vloggers, right? Where we're just documenters, right? We document things that we do, right? We share ideas, and one good way of sharing an idea is through video, right? Video and audio. That's the thing about videos. You get both audio and video and visual. Visual, audio and visual stuff all in one thing. So making a video about a combo let's say I create a combo for a deck, making a video about it is better than just me talking about it, like just an audio, like how this podcast is just an audio, right? You would prefer, most people are visual learners, so they prefer to see it, right? See the combo in action as opposed to hearing about it. Some people can just hear, the concept of a combo and be like, oh, okay, I get it. Other people, they got to see it to get it, right? Usually they just need their own understanding. People understand things a little different. People process information differently. That's why you have visual learners, and then you have audio learners who can, learn through listening, and others mainly learn through seeing, right? To each their own, right? So I make videos so that I can share, that I can show ideas and concepts. That's why when I make some of my masterclass videos, I'm showing something, right? I'm here's some examples of what I'm talking about, that way people can understand. Sometimes when I do my deck profiles, I'll move the mouse around, move around to certain pictures of certain cards and be like, all right, this card combos with this card, and you do this and the third, right? Just to give an idea, trying to give some form of illustration of what I'm trying to say. Granted, gameplay would be a lot more illustrative, right? Would be a lot better, but it's the fact that it's time consuming, and I got a lot to do on a daily basis, so I don't always have time to do all the little extra stuff. It's easier for me to move a mouse around and point at cards and talk about the cards' interactions than to go out and start up a game on Untap, for example. Especially it'd be harder if I was trying to do it in real life, against real life opponents, right, instead of online. So it's already hard enough to try to do something on Untap and then record, and then it's time consuming. Especially I tend to record more at work than I do at home. Therefore, the internet at work is way slower than at home. Therefore, it's way more time consuming for me. And then the fact that I gotta do work while I'm at work, right? So it just makes things a little bit harder. So more time consuming. And it's like, yeah, I got a lot of things to do. I'm trying to do as much as I can in a short period of time. So I don't want to waste a lot of time trying to do some extra stuff, just because, I get it. People want the extra. People want. So far, people do like my shorter deck profiles. I haven't got any complaints about it, and I've definitely been seeing more likes on my videos. So I'm assuming that's partly because the shorter video format, and then of course a couple gameplays that I was able to get and post. So I do see a small amount of views and stuff like that, and I don't get much feedback. Like most people don't say much, but I have gotten some people who do comment, which I appreciate. It lets me know that what I'm doing is useful. That's the main thing. It's like I'm trying to share useful information, whether you want to use it or not. That's up to you. I don't care either way, but it's there. That's the thing. My main focus is making sure that if I have some good ideas, or if I just have ideas in general, whether it's good or not, it's up, it's debatable, right? People have their opinions on stuff, but I have ideas and I'm gonna share them, and if they are useful to many people, that's awesome, and that's the best I can do. I'm not going to try to do extra. I'm definitely not going to try to cater. That tends to be that's way too much time and effort, and I got other things I'd rather be doing. To me, card games is a hobby, just like most of my other hobbies. I got other hobbies, but it's like I want to give everything that I do an equal amount of time. So There's other things that I really like doing because one, they're more beneficial to the world anyway. The other activities that I have, card games, just more of a personal thing, more fun. But sharing my knowledge and experience, obviously is helpful. And some people have expressed the usefulness of my ideas and stuff like that, so I definitely appreciate that. And of course, I've seen a lot of my ideas being used out there in the wild, as they say. So I'm definitely doing something useful. Might not be important, might not be special or popular. That's irrelevant. At least it's useful. That's the thing I've always wanted. The most basic thing I want is that if I put out any information out there, any ideas out there, that it is at least slightly useful, or at least inspires people to think outside the box, as they say, right? And then try different things and have more fun and enjoy the game. Because one of the things I notice a lot that happens is that some games become boring and stale after a while, and largely it's because the player base tends to be stuck in their ways. They get used to playing the game in one specific way. They don't change much, so then the game gets stale. Like, for example, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is experiencing that. Too many people are trying to put up multiple negates. I mean, they're pulling back on that right now, but for like a year and a half or 2 years, they've been definitely multiple negates, 7 negates, 12 negates, infinite combos, like FTKs and stuff. They were just going really hard on specific ideas, and that's all the game was for a long time. Now people are pulling back, and they're putting up a couple interrupts, a couple negates here and there. We're still in the hand trap era. That's still a thing. I'm not against it. Hand traps are cool and all. I get it. They're nice. A trap that you can play from your hand, so to speak, right? Something you can activate from your hand in response to whatever your opponent does. It's fun, right? It adds a level of interaction, and some people like the ability of interacting because it's a lot like a video game, and I get that. I noticed that after the year 2000, something like that, I noticed more and more players, more and more people, obviously newer players, the people that start coming into card games, a lot of them grew up playing video games, right? So at first I'm like, damn, a lot of people net decking more than there ever was before. People acting like net decking is the only way to play games. It's like there's no such thing. Playing archetypes is the only way to play games. There's no such thing as being original, creative, experimenting. Just copy net deck and just play what everybody else is playing, do what everybody else is doing. Meta this, meta that. And it's like, what the hell's going on here? It's like they're tripling up on some of these, these types of ideas. Oh, pay to win. It's like these ideas came from somewhere else, because these are not the kind of progression you would have in a card game. So where's this whole idea of just copying a deck and just learning how to be good with the deck and that's it, and not learn how to be good with the game? Where's that coming from? And it's like when I thought about it, it's like video games. Because in video games, you don't create your character. You don't create Sub-Zero. You just choose Sub-Zero and learn how to play Sub-Zero. So you choose a character and play it. So that's why a lot of people are net deckers. More like the large majority of the community is like 90+% net deckers, because they're used to choosing something and learning how to use it, as opposed to building something or learning how to build something. Right? So they're not used to creating a character. Right? They're used to just choosing something and then play with it and get good with it. So when you realize that and understand that that's where a lot of modern day card game players are coming from, they're coming from the video game generation basically, then you're like, that's why. There's that, and then there's the whole trying to be like everyone else. Instead of being original and being unique, everybody wants to be just like everybody else. Everybody wants to fit in, so they copy off everybody else so they can fit in, right? So many people out here trying to be the same thing. This is why you have a whole bunch of people trying to be influencers, content creator, right? No one's trying to be themselves and just share who they really are. Instead, they're trying to be something they're not. Then you get this whole persona thing. Even some people claim that that I'm a persona. It's like, damn, the disrespect. First, y'all say I'm a content creator when I'm not, and I try to treat me like I'm a content creator when I'm not. And then on top of that, talking about who I am as a person is a persona. Like it's made up. It's not who I really am in real life. Like I don't talk the way I talk on my videos and stuff like that in real life. It's like, no, I sound the same and talk the same in real life. The stuff that I say in my videos, I say in real life. The first 4 damage easy, the next 2 requires a little effort, and the last 2 is the hardest. I don't just say that for my video. I say that in real life. Whenever I talk to people and share ideas on how to play the game, when I actually interact with some people, I tell them about that idea. I don't just say that for videos. I repeat it a lot in videos, yes. Because I want people to learn that. That's an important thing, because that is a fact. That is a actual fact of the game. Something that I've seen for over 4 years now, and that concept has not stopped being true. So of course I keep sharing. I keep repeating it because it still holds true. It's still the truth of the game. This is why it's so funny when there's some people who still have this idea of like, I'm not good at the game. It's like, I'm not perfect, and I don't claim to be God tier or unbeatable or anything like that. Of course not. But I do say I'm good because I am. But the funny thing is, most people are good. Most people are good at the game. Good is not the highest level you can be, right? There's things above good, like great, perfect, right? God tier, right? So there's things higher than good, but it's just ironic that some people want to hate some other people so much. They want to hate that even if you don't talk highly of yourself, they'll take whatever you say that's positive and try to turn it into a negative. Like, nah, stop saying you're good. You're not good at the game. Good is not even like high. I'm not even talking highly of myself. I'm talking very like good is mid or below average, right? Like being good is average. You should be good at the game at the most basic level. But there's some people who will hear me say I'm good and immediately think I'm saying that I'm great, I'm perfect, I'm unbeatable or something, and then over exaggerate and then get butthurt about it. And it's like, okay, that's weird to be mad about somebody saying they're good at something, because it'd be weird for some people to assume that you can't be. Most people are good at whatever they do. Now being great or perfect, that's a different story. And it makes no sense for me to self-proclaim like I'm great, right? Because that's being full of myself and whatnot. Plus, you prefer other people to label you as great, right? Just like it's better that other people say Michael Jordan is the GOAT, right, greatest of all time, than for him to self-proclaim that, like most other people would try to. So that's the thing. I don't self-proclaim to be anything more than I am. I've made some podcasts before mentioning that so far I've been getting to the point where it's easy for me to deal 7 damage. There was a time where the best I could do without effort was 5 damage. That was like at the beginning, like that was like, well, I'll say like first 2 years of the game. It was easy because first 4 damage has been easy since the beginning since set 1, right? Since the beginning of the game up to now. So for 4 years, dealing the first 4 damage has always been easier. But after that, right, once you do 4 damage, it tends to be a little bit harder because back then, we definitely put in a lot of extra effort to try not to take more than 4 damage. But I noticed a lot of people have been slacking on that, or they just play or they just play stuff that reduces their life really quickly. A lot of my wins against certain decks came from just my opponent taking their own life, bringing themselves down to 2 life, and I'm like, all right, and they have a low hand size, so let me go in for the kill, dump my whole hand into the attack, and see what happens, and bang, game. right? And they did all the work for me. I didn't have to take them down to 2 life. They did most of that work for me. This is why it's funny to me when people were complaining about red rolling, even Mecha Frieza, even at that time. Full power Mecha Frieza, Mecha Apes, right? People were complaining about how strong the deck and how it's unbeatable and this and that. It's like, no, it's very beatable. I've beaten it. I've played it, obviously. I started off that whole Mecha Ape stuff. But it's like it's not too special for me because of the fact that I'm so used to dealing a whole bunch of damage in the first 2 turns anyway. Dealing 4 to 6 damage in the first 2 turns. And that's essentially what Mecha Frieza did. It would deal you 4 to 5 damage on like turn 1, or like between turn 1 and turn 2, obviously. Depending on how your hand, you can go 4 to 6 damage on turn 1, and then finish them off the following turn. And it's like, okay, to me that wasn't like, that was cool and all, but it wasn't like special because it's like, well, I could just do that with red cards. I can bodyguard Legend, Champa, like that's basic red aggro shit right there. But we were doing it with yellow and blue cards. That's the only difference, right? And we were dropping apes. That's cute and all, but it's like, it wasn't revolutionary. But for a lot of people it was, just because it was a little bit different. But the funny thing is, most people didn't play the way I played it anyway. Most people were playing way slower. It would take them 4 turns to do 4 damage, while I was doing 4 damage in the first 2 turns of the game. Double strike here and there, right? So I was already doing a lot of damage before everybody else started catching up to the idea of like doing a lot of damage. And then some people back in that time only wanted to do 3 damage. They didn't want to do more than 3. They only wanted to do 3 because they didn't want their opponent to awaken. That was part of the reason why they didn't do a lot of damage, unless they were going to like potentially cut you more than half your life and then finish you off the next turn. That's part of the popularity with the Mecha Frieza strategy, right? With the apes, was that I'll do you more than 4 damage right now and then finish you off next turn. That was the theory behind it. So that's why people did it. That's why they did it. But the funny thing with that is like, well, you only need, typically the part of the strategy causes you to be down to 2 life anyway, so you just need double strike for game. And since a lot of the damage you were taking was double strike damage, it wasn't a lot of crit damage. You had a huge hand size anyway. So, and then your opponent wasted a lot of their hand size playing Mecha Frieza. So all you really had to do was like attack, and I typically tend to do overwhelm, because we did start having overwhelm at the time. And it's like, I'll just attack, try to get 1 attack to go through, and then just double strike my opponent for game. And that's how I beat Mecha Frieza. But for some reason, other people struggled against Mecha Frieza. I can understand if you're not playing Champa Ni Supreme Kai. I get it. It's gonna be hard to double strike if you don't have a lot of double strike cards in your deck. I get it, but y'all could have played them. That's the point. Those cards existed, and y'all didn't do what y'all could have done. But anyway, I'm not trying to get into all that. Just want to focus on, the whole, content creator versus, a vlogger thing, or just a player, right? Because, I classify myself as a player. I play the game whenever I get the chance, whenever I'm not too busy doing other things. I play, I experiment, try new things, It was funny for a while, people, labeled me as just a deck builder. It's like, okay, it's one thing to give me, some props for being a deck builder, right? Respecting that, I, experiment and try different things and share these different ideas and concepts. It's another thing to just like try to typecast me, right? The whole idea of like, oh, that's just what you are, a deck builder. It's like, no, I'm more than that. I play the game. The funny thing is that even though I have over like 50 videos of gameplay, not a lot of people watch my gameplays. Most people only know that like I do deck profiles and then that's it. They probably don't know I have a podcast. They probably don't know that I have a video masterclass. They probably don't know, where I teach how to, be really good at the game, and how to master it. That's why I call it masterclass. And probably don't know, I have gameplays that they could watch if they're interested in seeing my decks in action. And I've had some people ask me, say, hey, show this deck in action. Like, all right, well, I'll go on Untap when I have the free time and record a duel real quick just to show the deck in action. So I've done that. I've even had some people send me deck lists and have me tweak it, give it my touch, and I've done that. And if I'm right, I've done gameplays of those decks as well to showcase what those decks look like in action after my modifications. I'm always trying to be unique. I remember one time I created a, what should I call it? It was the Topo leader. It was a Topo lockdown deck. Somebody commented like, "Oh, this is nothing special. Everybody does Topo lockdown." Like, and I went on YouTube and typed it up. It's like, oh yeah, there is a ton of Topo lockdown decks. Even though my deck in many ways look different than a lot of these Topo lockdown decks, it is the fact that it is still a lockdown strategy. Nothing different. And it's like, it's interesting that somebody cared enough to point out that my deck wasn't different. When the irony is, a lot of people typically complain that my decks are different, that they don't like it, that I don't make my decks look like how everybody else does it. Like not playing super combos, for example. It's like, oh shit, you're not playing super combos. Everybody plays super combos, right? So it was just ironic for somebody to, not like that I wasn't different. Like my profile wasn't different than most other people's, right? Per se. And it's like, okay, you want me to do something different with the leader? Okay. So I created like a burn deck with the leader. So they approve. So that was a thing. So that was funny. I'm like, okay, there you go. Gave you a different Topo build, a burn version. And sometimes I try to do that. I try to do like different, try to do different play styles with like the same deck. So like I'll try to do, like for example, Boma aggro, and then Boma burn, and then Boma mill, and then Boma control, and Boma hand control. And, I try different things, right? So there's different. I tend to try to create different ways you could play a certain leader or a certain archetype. Or just a certain arrangement of cards. Like I'll mix match certain cards and be like, oh cool, blue green, and what I'm gonna do is have hand control and then just control, right? Have blue counterplays and have green hand control cards, right? And do a blue green deck and bang, there you go. Right? And then the leader I choose, let's say it's Janimba. So that way now I have mill, hand control, and counterplays, right? And that'd be like my main, and that'd be what the deck is about. It's incorporating those three different types of play styles: hand control, mill, and counterplay or control. Maybe somebody will like that. Maybe somebody will like to have all three of those types of elements in one deck. So then I try to make those three different play styles have synergy. That should be a good thing. I mean, I think so. I think that should be a good thing. Being able to combine three different types of play styles and strategies into one deck, so that way you have options. Just like trying to incorporate burn and mill into the same deck, so that way you either win through mill or you win through burn. You could obviously still win through just attacking, for game, but at least you have these other two uninteractive win cons, right? Milling your opponent out and burning your opponent for game. Usually it's hard for your opponent to stop those two ways of winning. Winning through an attack, your opponent could, obviously out combo, negate, or block. They could try to stop you from winning in those conditions. And ironically, most people complain about that. Like, oh no, we need win cons we need interactable win cons. I'm like, no, that's stupid. That's the opposite of a win con. A win con is supposed to be something I use to win, and you're not supposed to be able to stop me. I don't want you to stop my win con, then it's not a win con. The idea of a win con is you meet the conditions, you're supposed to win. It's like if I manage to deck my opponent out, yet somehow I don't win because there's an interactive way of stopping me from winning from you decking out. Like, no, that's bullshit. You deck out, I win. Your life hits 0, I win. It'd be bullshit if we try to come up with a way where it's like, nah, I didn't lose. I still technically still alive, even though I have no cards in my life. Like, no, you lost. GG, you know what I mean? Like, so it'd be stupid to have win cons that your opponent can interact with. That's a contradiction. Then it's not a win con. It's a try to win con. Like you're trying to win with it, not that it is something you win with. So a win con is supposed to be that. It's something you use to definitely win. What else? Got my little tripod here. Got my phone on my tripod. Even though I'm not recording a video, I'm doing a podcast. Still using the tripod to hold the phone while I record. That way, at least it's not on the table. It's higher up. So hopefully the audio quality is good at this level. But yeah, it's cool. You know, I'm trying to do some things. I'm trying to have some stuff. The tripod, I mainly got it so if I do go to like events and locals and stuff like that, which is something I would like to do more of, is go play in real life. I'll have the tripod so I can try to record some real life gameplays. I'm still, you know, trying to edit this round 1 game that I had at the locals that I went to a couple weeks ago. So it's funny, I edited the gameplay where I lost. Right now I'm trying to edit the gameplay where I won. So I won this game. So there's a little bit of spoiler there. I win this match. It's just, you know, it's taking a while for me to get to the point of editing it. So there's that. Unfortunately, you only see half of the half recording because mainly the camera is focused mainly on me and my board or my side of the table as opposed to my opponent. So you won't get to see much from my opponent's side, but I'll try to pop up cards here and there, so that way you know what my opponent is playing and what they're technically trying to do. But you'll just mainly see things more from my side, my point of view per se. It's definitely not the best position because it was just a spur of the moment. It was just like, oh, well, I have the opportunity. No one's gonna have a problem me recording, other than, you know, not show their faces and stuff like that, you know, because I didn't ask for permission. But, you know, just being able to just put up the phone and record, but I didn't have a tripod to like really position it properly so I could at least record the map. No one cares if I record, you know, the gameplay. It's just they didn't want to be in the camera footage, which I respect. So of course I edit out people's faces and whatnot, but just to be able to at least try to get the gameplay. So I'll do better next time is what I'm trying to say. Like I said, I'm not a content creator, so it's not like I have a whole bunch of equipment for making content because I'm not a content creator. I just got a phone and a laptop, right? You know, and cards because I play, you know, card games. I have tons of cards. I play different card games. So I have, you know, it's funny I say play, but it's like, what I mean by that is that there's a lot. I'm into multiple different card games, and whenever I do get to play them, I play them. But it's not like every day I'm playing card games. I do think about, you know, different ideas for card games, especially Dragon Ball Super. Always come up with new concepts and, you know, new tech ideas. But I don't get to play as much as I would like to. You know, actually get actual play. I got into, you know, to the point and level where I don't need to play test. I still need to do some test hands just to make sure that my deck's you know, consistent, and, you know, I know what a lot of the cards do in the card interactions, you know, just basic stuff. But other than that, I don't need to like play test. Like I don't need to do matchups and stuff like that because it's never really necessary. Most things are pretty simple and straightforward. Like my round 2 matchup was very one-sided, and I had trouble getting the one card in my deck that definitely would have helped me out. in these situations. Well, there's a couple of cards that would have helped me out in these situations, and I really needed it, but I didn't get it in time. Was my Gotenks Unison, as well as my my Super Saiyan 4 Goku Unison would have been helpful. I mean, any of my unisons would have been helpful, but I had trouble getting my hands on them at the right time. But I definitely needed the ability to force my opponent to shuffle the deck to ruin their strategy, because they're playing the green Majin Buu leader. And they kept playing their Majin Vegeta from the bottom of the deck, and it was a 30k double strike, and it kept swinging with that over and over again, and that was a bit of a problem. Especially with the fact that it has the ability to restand if you do play a counterattack. So me negating was useless against that, unless it's a floodgate negate. Blocking against it is useful, but I didn't have that many blockers to block with, and it being double strike kills my unison blockers way too easily, like my Raditz. So it's hard to keep Raditz Giant Force on the field long enough, for him to be able to defend me against that Majin Buu. That Majin Vegeta, and then so most unisons are vulnerable to that battle card, is what I'm saying. So it's hard to keep them on the field long enough to be useful. And then what was the other thing? And then since I try not to combo, right, give up hand size to try to stop from taking damage, the fact that there's a 30k double strike is like, if it was a 30k single damage, it wouldn't be a problem. But it's the fact that it's double strike, like, damn, so 30k, I don't got 20k in my hand every time he swings to even try to stop it, right, to try to out combo it. So it's like I either block and there's no point in negating. So I'm in a very disadvantaged situation, because I'm not going to try to out combo it, so I'm going to end up taking double strike damage. I don't have enough blocking capability, so so that's not much of an option. And negating is pointless unless it's like a floodgate negate, but it's negating is relatively pointless. And I don't own Oceanus. It would have been nice to have Oceanus. That would have made a big difference, but I didn't have Oceanus. I still have to order a play set of Oceanus, and that would have made a big difference. But other than that, it's like, I was at a big disadvantage. So 30k double strike swinging at me at every turn was a good strategy. It was definitely a weakness for me. It's a weakness against most decks anyway, but the point was it was a weakness for me at that time. So it was a very one-sided battle. But I did manage to stop the strategy eventually. So I stopped the bleeding, as they say, right? I stopped getting swung at by 30k double strike. But it was a little, what they say, as they say, a little too late, right? So, so that game was a little bit more one-sided. But round one and round three, real fun games, and definitely was a lot of I definitely played out a lot of the best stuff from my deck. Not everything my deck was capable of doing, but definitely I multiple times played Android 17 Turning Tides. If I'm right in round 3 against a Pageman player, if I'm right, game 1 I did manage to Turning Tides them, but then they got me in game 2 and 3, right? So they were able to kill me before I was able to Turning the Tides them. And of course, his strategy not only was 30k double strike, it was also the fact that he had the ability to draw with the leader, draw with the servants, overlord servants strategy. So even though I got the turn tide strategy, even if I pulled it off, the fact that he can always replenish his hand back real quick and then just come back into the game, obviously was very helpful for him. So it would have been very hard because he always kept a nice big hand size. I think he had rebrand as well, so he had a little bit of hand control in his deck. Anyway, I play the game. That's what I'm saying. Like, I play card games whenever I get a chance. It's been a while since I played Magic, even though I have the app on my phone. And that's the main way I play Magic right now, is through the phone. But I haven't been playing through the phone in a long time because I've been busy. There's other games. I play RuneScape, which is not a card game, but I play RuneScape. And I should make sure I log in. I don't want to lose my account, so I'll log in right now. Just because it's been a while since I logged in. But anyway, Pokemon. I also got the Pokemon game on my computer. Haven't logged into that in a long time. So I just like playing a lot of different card games. You know, nothing wrong with it. And so when I say I play, it's like, yeah, sometimes I do play, right? But a lot of times I'm just stating the fact that, you know, I'm into these games. Like, you know, I own the cards for these games and whatnot. I understand how to play these games. Something went wrong. I'll fix that later. You know, so when I say I play, I'm just referring to the idea that, you know, I'm part of these card game communities. Right? I'm a fellow player of the games, even if I don't get to play as much as I, you know, would like to. Just like I could be like, hey, you know, I'm a gamer. I play video games, but not all the time, right? There's, you know, you don't have to play video games every day to be a gamer, right? That's actually known as a no-lifer, because you have no life other than playing games, right? So I don't always know life stuff. You know, I might take a week or two, maybe a month, and know life something like a card game or a video game or any activity I get into. But after a while, you know, it's like, nope, gotta get back to life, gotta do other things, and gotta, you know, balance things out. So yeah, I can understand the confusion that people might think I'm a content creator, because they're used to anybody who puts anything on the internet is by default a content creator, but it's like, that's not the case. That's a different classification. That's, you know, that the term content creator is somebody who creates content, right? They're creating stuff just for the sole purpose of putting stuff on the internet, and typically is for the purpose of money, entertainment, clout, whatever, you know, popularity, for whatever reason. You know, there's some people who actually, you know, make videos and stuff like that, right? Just as a form of therapy for them, you know, because, like, let's say they're antisocial and making videos on the internet and interacting with people on the internet through videos, through comment sections, right, is their way of socializing. Okay, hey, to each their own. That's not me. You know, I'm more of a teacher. I'm like, here's some information, I put it out there. Somebody has a question, somebody asks me, because the funny thing is this podcast mainly came from the fact that somebody it was either yesterday or the day before, asked me, it was yesterday. Asked me like why I don't, you know, play super combos in my decks, and it's like, people still asking me that, still asking me that question, like, why don't I? It should be obvious. I just don't, and that should be okay. The fact that people still got questions, people still wondering why, you know, and then of course there was the people who, there was people who just start creating their own reason why, right? Trying to tell me why I don't play super combos. Most people think it's because I don't know what they are. It's like, no, I clearly know what a super combo is. It doesn't take a genius to know what a super combo is. It's just a card. It's a keyword skill. It's not that deep. It's not that special, right? It's not something that, you know, we gotta make a big deal about. But there's some people out there that do make a big deal about it. Let's see. Oh, there's even a podcast. Might as well, you know, just give out a random shout out. There's a podcast called Super Combo Podcast by Aspira and UniXDBS. So go check them out. There's other podcasts that, you know, I check out. Well, Team Talks, Berserk's Team Talk. Team FOE, Eddie St. Hilaire. He does like team talk stuff. There's of course the Hermit Style podcast. There's a new podcast that I started watching. Is it CCG podcast? I think that's what it's called, CCG podcast. Just like try to look up like DBS podcasts on YouTube. You might find some people podcasting. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else that did a podcast. Does Joey have a podcast? I don't think Crossworld TCG has a podcast. Unless they do, I just don't notice it as a podcast. Anyway, the point is there's podcasts out there besides me. But hey, podcasts about DBS or card games in general. There's some Yu-Gi-Oh podcasts out there. Since this is not just a DBS podcast, I'll mention Fifth Rate Duelist or the Fourth Rate Deck. I think it was something like that podcast or something like that. It's probably just Fifth Rate Duelist podcast. She's cool. Give her a shout out. I mean, go check her out. She makes Yu-Gi-Oh podcasts. She tends to interview people. I think it's probably called First Rate Duelist, becoming a First Rate Duelist podcast or something like that. I don't remember. Like I watch her on YouTube, so I don't know what her like Spotify podcast name would be, but it's probably like Fifth Rate Duelist or becoming a First Rate Duelist podcast. One of those two. You can find her on YouTube and then find her on Spotify. I'm trying to remember if there's anybody else that does Yu-Gi-Oh podcasts. There's people who Twitch, obviously. There's Twitch streamers. I know it's a lot of the people I used to watch on Twitch don't stream as much. The Hill Twins still Twitch stream from time to time. Team FOE don't Twitch as much as they used to. Emperor Couscous doesn't Twitch as much as he used to. Let's see. Eggman still does. he's still out there. Android still Twitch streams a little bit, but Eggman definitely still just constantly grinding on the Twitch streams, so that's his thing. Plus he does other stuff. He does other card games, so he always has something to make content with, so that's his thing. That's the thing. That's the other difference between another thing that shows you the difference between a content creator and like a vlogger, for example. One, I mean, as a vlogger, I just share my stuff, like my decks, my ideas, my gameplays mostly. Like I'm not going out here getting other people's deck lists and making deck profiles of other people's decks. I'm not doing meta analysis and this and that. Like I'm not going out ban list videos and product reviews and stuff like that. Like if I get like a booster box or something, I'll open it and make a video about it just to show what I got in the box, and that's it. Nothing really epic. I mean, if I pull a God Rare Vegeta out of a Realm of the Gods booster box, obviously that's a big deal. But other than that, it's just a booster box, right? Just a booster box opening. For those who like it, hey, you like it, but it's not that big a deal. I'm not gonna go out of my way to keep buying boxes just to keep making box openings. That's not my thing. Like I said, I'm not a content creator. I just play the game. So I'm more interested in sharing my ideas, my experience, my knowledge, my thoughts on the game or games that I play, and then share it. Another thing is that separates a vlogger versus a content creator. was I gonna say? Besides that, I only show mainly my stuff, not somebody else's stuff, and my stuff is more educational than entertainment. It's also lost train of thought. Forgot what's the other thing that separates a blogger from a content creator. Losing train of thought, and I've been talking long enough. That'll be the end of the podcast.